Nearly everything about the 2024 Chevy Silverado EV First Edition RST is over the top, from this truck's weight and wheels to its performance, range, features, and yes, even the price tag. But I'll tell you, all of this crazy excess isn't necessarily a bad thing. So the Chevy Silverado EV First Edition RST is a full-sized, battery-powered pickup that is very closely related to those new Hummer models as well as the upcoming Cadillac Escalade IQ. And at first glance, this pickup truck looks absolutely gargantuan, and it certainly is large, though it really isn't any bigger than other half-ton pickups. And of course, I'm making air quotes because the half-ton label is a bit of a misnomer. Anyway, this thing has a 145.7-inch wheelbase, and its overall length is 233.1 inches, which makes it very similar to the Ford F-150 Lightning, which is probably this Chevy's #1 rival, though of course it will also compete with the Tesla Cybertruck and the Rivian R1T. Moving along toward the front of this big rig, we can see the hood is, well, it's very tall, but the front end of this pickup is surprisingly sleek, and obviously they did a lot of wind tunnel tuning to achieve that. Up front, there is a light strip that runs between the two headlamps to give this thing a unique lighting signature at night. Nice to have. While we are here, I'm going to reach under here into the grille. There's a rubberized button that will pop this truck's front trunk. Or maybe it won't. Let's try that again. Press it again. Come on, baby. There we go. We got it. All right, so this truck has a front trunk, which I always like to see. It clocks in at 10.7 cubic feet, which is a good amount of room, though honestly, the F-150 Lightning has the Silverado EV beat. Its Mega Power front clocks in at just about 14 cubic feet, which is a substantial difference. However, this Chevy has a far more versatile bed than the Ford. Moving back around the sides of this pickup truck, it is only offered with a crew cab body, so you get 4 full-size doors and, of course, a back seat. If you wanted a Silverado EV with, I don't know, an 8-foot bed, a regular cab, and crank windows, it ain't gonna happen, I'm sorry. As cool as that might be, I would love to see it, but it's not in the cards. Now, additionally, this truck is built on something of a hybrid structure. It's a little bit body on frame, and it's a little bit unibody. So with the battery pack and electric motors, you sort of have a rolling chassis onto which is mounted the sort of unitized structure. As you can see, the bed and the cab are one unit. They are together, and we've got sort of a flying buttress here, just like on an old European cathedral or something. So a bit of an interesting way that they've built this pickup truck, unlike the F-150 Lightning, which is essentially just an F-150 that they have electrified. There are advantages and disadvantages, of course, to going either way. Also, this truck does come with absolutely gargantuan, massive, staggeringly huge 24-inch wheels. I don't think I ever need wheels that are quite that large, that are 2 feet in diameter, though they do look nice, and of course they fit the design of this truck quite well. As for the bed, in its standard configuration, you get 5 feet and 11 inches of storage space, which is a good number. It's comparable to other pickup trucks, but it gets significantly better because the Silverado EV has what's known as a Midgate. It's a separate sort of, let's call it a door behind the second row seat that folds down and expands the bed length to more than 9 feet, which is incredibly clever. It's just like, think of this as a modern day version of the Chevrolet Avalanche, if you remember that pickup truck. Now, if the Silverado EV is also fitted with the available multi-flex tailgate, which is sort of like a tailgate within a tailgate, you can see the cutouts right there. If it is fitted with this and you fold that down into the correct posture, it offers about 6 different configurations, but fold it down, that increases the cargo bed length to 10 feet, 10 inches, which is absolutely clever. Absolutely incredible. This is a super clever design, and I think it's got pretty much every other pickup truck out there today beat when it comes to in-bed versatility. As for exportable power, since of course this is an electric, it will put out up to 10.2 kilowatts of juice. That is from all of the outlets in the interior and bed and whatever, and the power base, which is very similar to Hyundai and Kia's V2L adapter. It plugs into the charging port and gives you some additional outlets. It's much more like a power strip than the Kia Hyundai solution, so it should work very well, but up to 10.2 kilowatts of exportable power, which is great for running accessories when you're camping or even on the job site. Moving inside, this truck's cabin isn't quite as versatile as its exterior, but this is still a decent place inside the Silverado EV, of course. As for materials, we have an interesting mix of hard plastics here and there and some softer stuff. None of it is particularly rich. I do appreciate the contrast color stitching in blue and red. It does add some visual pizzazz, but we've also got some sort of technical patterns opposed to imitation leather, which is a little bit weird. We've got hard plastics again on the dashboard, and then the steering column area also looks very cheap, and some aspects of this cabin aren't up to snuff for the price they're asking for this vehicle, which we will get to, of course, in just a couple of minutes. Other amenities include a gargantuan fixed glass roof. Now, you know I don't like convertibles or sunroofs or anything like that. I don't care for the glare, but you're kind of stuck with it on the RST here, though at least they do have it tinted. Unfortunately, there is no sunshade. Now, there's an important reason why you go with a glass roof. A lot of EVs offer them. The floor height is higher, and by going with a glass panel, it can help get you back some additional headroom, and it worked. The back seat has loads of room in all of the important dimensions, and it's quite comfortable. Additionally, the rear seat there is split 60-40, so you've got extra versatility when you want to haul some long cargo and passengers at the same time. So again, very clever engineering with that Midgate. Now, between these front seats, we have a gargantuan center console. It's supposed to have up to 7 gallons of storage space, and that's really hard to visualize, but just know that it's frickin' huge. Lots of storage nooks and crannies in the center console here. But now let's talk tech, and as you can see, we've got 2 beautiful displays inside the Silverado EV here. Immediately in front of the driver is an 11-inch reconfigurable digital instrument cluster. This looks absolutely fantastic. It is crisp, it is colorful, it is beautiful and easy to read. Everything you want from an instrument cluster. But right over here, this is what's really going to grab your eye, because it is a 17.7-inch touchscreen that runs a Google-based infotainment system. And this panel is just as beautiful as the instrument cluster. Crisp, colorful, very easy to read, and the user interface and performance are frankly fantastic. This system absolutely flies. It almost never stutters or lags that I have seen at all. Plus, they put a lot of thought into the user interface. You've got some persistent buttons here at the top, some other switches closer to the steering wheel here, and then of course, persistent climate controls at the bottom. So it's very easy to turn on your seat ventilator, because I'm kind of overheating right now, so I'm going to switch that on. But anyway, since, as I mentioned, this is Google-based, you get a range of different Google services. There's the Assistant that can help you answer questions and things like that. There's the Play Store where you can download software and apps. The system, of course, also supports over-the-air updates, which is always great. And then my favorite, of course, if I swipe over, is Google Maps. It's always up to date, and this system absolutely flies. I pinched to zoom on this screen, and it is just incredible. Almost zero stuttering or lagging at all. Super impressive performance here. Plus, Google Maps also supports dynamic route planning, so if you're towing a trailer or something, or you're looking to get to a destination and the weather conditions change or something, it will automatically update where you need to get charging. Plus, this will precondition the battery, so when you do roll up to the charger, this vehicle is ready to accept power at the maximum rate to help you get back on the road as soon as possible. So we want entry-exit mode. Yeah. We hit this.
Hit that.
Whoa. So very simple. Much unlike the Hummer, very easy to put this thing in wow mode. So then just flat foot the accelerator, no brake torquing necessary?
No.
Nothing? All right. We're putting this feature to the test. I've put the truck in the lowest ride mode, and I've activated the wow setting, which you just do from the drive mode selector. Push one button and that's it. In the GMC Hummer vehicles, there are a lot more steps involved. But all I'm told now is flat foot the accelerator, and we're going to get the full output of the Silverado EV. So both hands on the wheel, hold on tight, here we go. And we're off. 65, 69, 73, 80, 82, and all our cameras are flying everywhere. She's quick. This thing moves all right for a 9,000 plus pound pickup. Not too shabby, but definitely not as absolutely explosive as the Hummer. The watts to freedom mode in the triple motor Hummer EV pickup, for instance, that's like sitting on a hand grenade. That like takes your breath away. This is certainly incredibly quick, but it doesn't scramble your organs like the GMC. The Silverado EV First Edition RST offers some mega performance, up to 754 horsepower and 785 pound-feet of torque, and that is with the wide open watts drive mode engaged. In normal or other drive modes, the power output is less, but Chevy won't tell you specifically how much. The maximum you get with WOW, again, that's wide open watts, not World of Warcraft or those potato chips from the 1990s that would give you diarrhea. The WOW mode, again, gives you 754 horsepower, 785 pound-feet of torque, which is enough to get you from 0 to 60 in less than 4.5 seconds, which is not too bad for a 9,100 pound pickup. Now, the Silverado EV's range is just as impressive. As this model sits, it provides an estimated 440 miles on a full charge, which again, very impressive and absolutely blows the Ford F-150 Lightning out of the water. The longest legged version of that blue oval pickup, I think, will do 320 miles on a charge, and this is clearly superior to that. Providing the juice, of course, is a gargantuan 205 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's the gross capacity, and gross indeed because it is absolutely mammoth. Still, you need a giant pack to provide good range in a vehicle that is this big and heavy. As for DC fast charging, absolutely incredible, up to 350 kilowatts. Good luck finding a charger that will put out that much power that isn't occupied by a Chevrolet Bolt, but this truck will do 350, which can add 100 miles of range in just 10 minutes of charging. Unfortunately, Chevy did not share a 10 to 80% time, but 100 miles in 10 minutes will still give you a pretty good idea of how quickly this truck will charge. When it comes to level 2 AC charging at home, this truck can absorb about 34 miles of range per hour, which again is really pretty good. This thing does have a CCS port, sort of the more traditional plug. We will see the NACS plug supported by the Silverado, so this should also be able to juice up at Tesla superchargers, but it can't do that quite yet. As for capability, the Silverado EV here can tow up to 10,000 pounds, which of course is a lot, though it is the same max rating as the Ford F-150 Lightning. As for payload capability, this thing is rated to haul up to 1,500 pounds, which oddly enough is a little bit less than the Ford. The Ford will do a few hundred pounds more, and I think that's just because this truck is already so much heavier than the Lightning. So how does the new Silverado EV feel? Well, in short, it's heavy. Like really heavy. This truck isn't physically really any larger than any other full-size pickup, but from behind the wheel, it seems 50% bigger at least. The weight is undeniable. You notice it in the corners, you notice it in the ride quality. I've got this truck in the softest suspension setting, which does a pretty good job of smothering out roadway imperfections, though again, the body will move around quite a bit in turns and over larger surface undulations. If you put it in the stiffer settings, it's also extremely noticeable. The ride actually becomes quite harsh, unexpectedly so for something with an air suspension system. Also, you've got to take into account those wheels. At 24 inches, the amount of unsprung mass that the suspension has to manage is just unfathomable. So if you had smaller wheels on this truck, it may not look very stylish, but I hazard to bet it would ride and handle a lot better than it does. Another thing that really surprised me about the Silverado EV is the interior noise. EVs are super quiet. Modern vehicles in general have fantastic insulation against noise and harshness, but I'm getting a lot of racket coming up through the tires from the roadway. The mics probably can't pick it up, but it's quite pronounced. And especially at highway speeds, there's a lot of wind noise, particularly from the A-pillars. I mean, this truck has a gigantic frontal area, so you're just plowing through the air, so it's understandable you're going to get a bit of noise, but maybe they should have added a little bit more sound deadening in this cabin. As for other amenities, I've already mentioned the air suspension system, which does a pretty good job of providing a smooth ride. It's also got about 4 inches of height adjustability. Beyond that, this truck comes with 4-wheel steering, which makes it dramatically more maneuverable, particularly at low speeds. In parking lots, it cuts the turning circle down to just about 42 feet 2 inches, and you really notice that. The RST also comes with Super Cruise, which is, as you know, one of my favorite driver aids that has ever been introduced by an automaker. It works fantastically well. You can engage it on some 400,000 miles of limited access divided highway in the US and Canada, but by the end of 2025, they're increasing that to some 750,000 miles, which of course is a huge, huge increase. And with Super Cruise in the pickup trucks, you can also engage it hands-free while you are towing a trailer, which again is a great feature to have and can really take the stress out of long drives when you are hauling stuff. I think I almost prefer the Lightning. I think I do. I think I prefer the Lightning to the Silverado here, which is really curious because, again, the Lightning is just an F-150 that they took and electrified, while this is sort of a clean sheet redesign. They could really optimize it to be the best full-size electric truck possible, and that may not have been the right way to go. May not have been the best option. And it's also interesting, automakers have sort of been conditioned, and buyers as well, for when they introduce a new full-size truck, they expect it to have all of the superlatives, the highest payload rating, the most towing, the greatest horsepower and torque. And in doing that with the Silverado EV, they may have reached a little bit too far by going for best in-segment figures in pretty much every category. They may have paradoxically ended up building a worse vehicle, which is really unexpected. And there you have it, a quick first drive review of the 2024 Chevrolet Silverado EV First Edition RST. And I'll tell you, there's a lot to like about this all-electric pickup truck. The versatility is absolutely off the charts with that super clever Midgate. Plus, you get segment-leading DC fast charging performance and range. Plus, you can tow a trailer hands-free with Super Cruise, which is absolutely amazing. But, and this is a very big but, this truck ain't cheap. As it sits, this thing checks out for about $96,500, including $1,995 in destination fees, which is a lot of money. And despite being built in GM's Factory Zero in Detroit Hamtramck, this thing is not eligible for any federal tax credits because it is simply too expensive. However, if this is the EV pickup for you, but you can't stomach spending nearly 6 figures to park one in your garage, don't worry, just pump the brakes for now, because more affordable versions of this thing are currently under development. They're going to have a work truck model as well as an off-road focused trail boss. So if you want a more affordable Silverado, just sit tight, they are coming. If you're considering a Chevy Silverado EV, you might also be cross-shopping the Tesla Cybertruck and Rivian R1T. Now, to see how well these two rivals compare to each other, well, click right over here.